everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for Strange Issue 2. And I really enjoyed this issue because it showcased Clea dealing with the Harvest Man and this reanimated Thunderstrike, and showing her kind of way of doing battle, and kind of explaining how, since she's kind of like the full teen, how she kind of has to deal with the powers that she's gained as the Sorcerer Supreme. And then we get towards the end as they kind of set up other kind of things going on. I didn't know how they were going to kind of start this off, but I do like how they're setting up all these kind of things going on. So an interesting way that we start this issue is that we have this dude singing about making mac and cheese as shit's kind of going down, and we see this the apartment of Kevin Masterson, aka Thunderstrike 2. And that's about kind of it that we get for that. Otherwise, we then switch over and we see Clea and the Harvest Man fighting the Revenant of Masterson. And she's explaining how the powers that she has with, like, who she is and the different mantles, the magics don't play well together. Fire and ice, acid and stone and all that. And she has to kind of fight that kind of stuff, similar to the monster before her, Masterson. And she has to, like, keep fighting to make sure that her powers don't consume her, and she's trying to figure out kind of what's going on with Harvest Man and Thunderstrike, because they're kind of fighting each other for what's kind of going on right now. So she tries to first, like, capture the Harvest Man dude, and he, like, brings up that he's, like, the emissary of death. He kind of speaks kind of similarly to, like, how Strange kind of speaks. Like, I am Death's emissary and I will not be bound so easily. Not that I have the inkling that it could be Strange at this point. Just that it's interesting that he has that kind of speech pattern of, like, the importance and everything. And he's like, hey, I'm doing what I need to do. And Clea's like, I think you should explain yourself, man. And that, of course, this is all Death's whole kind of business and everything. And she's like, I think you want to reconsider on that. I fought alongside Masterson, and she liked him. I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting, because I'm not that well versed with Thunderstrike, and definitely not that well versed with Clea and Thunderstrike's relationship, so it's kind of cool to kind of learn that. And then, of course, Harvest Man kind of gives a lowdown of what's kind of going on, that this isn't Masterson, this isn't a complete kind of resurrection thing. It's like a legion of, like, mad raving souls, pretty much using it as a vessel. And that it's just a gestalt entity, it's a revenant. And I'm like, ooh, that's kind of cool to kind of have that be a kind of first kind of thing that Clea's got to kind of deal with. And then, of course, she brings up the whole thing of, like, Strange being resurrected, and Harvest Man's like, nah, that's impossible. And while they're kind of, like, talking about that, and Clea's like, hey, nothing should be impossible for me, we see that the Revenant is able to call forth the Mace of Thunderstrike, and that starts kind of, like, screwing them up, because that's bringing in some kind of higher level powers. So that shows that they're able to utilize that, which is a big kind of thing. I don't know exactly what the kind of state of Thunderstrike's whole kind of hammer would be. Like, all kind of enchantments of worthiness and everything. Especially given what's been going on in Thor lately, with Thor having to take over, and kind of like the enchantments that Odin was doing, you either have to kind of keep up with them or create them anew as the new Allfather. So there's a lot of different kind of things going on, but him pulling that out's a pretty big thing. And Harvest Man is like, I gotta kind of deal with this, so kind of stop interfering with me. And they kind of team up and do some pretty cool stuff here. Her bringing out the, let me see, Sarneo's Storm of Swords, and him doing the Bromagan's Ruby Rain as it's, like, really kind of hitting into Thunderstrike. I'm like, okay, this is really good. And it really helps because you get a nice idea of who's doing what, because you get nice colored differentiations, as Clea's is more purple. You got the Harvest Man doing his red stuff, and you got Thunderstrike with his lightning being blue and everything, and just kind of, like, lucky with stuff as he's, like, thunder cracks Harvest Man in the back with the mace. So Clea's like, all right, we need to get rid of that, and she apologizes for what she's about to do, and she pretty much uses her kind of portaling kind of abilities to separate his arms and the mace from him, as Harvest Man's like, yeah, enough of this, and we get a cool action page as he pretty much decapitates Thunderstrike. Well, the Revenant. While saying, like, for you, Mistress Death, a grim harvest. It's like, okay, I kind of like how kind of older school kind of speech style, Shakespearean kind of style he's kind of going for. And then we see all of the entities leaving the body, and she, of course, says goodbye from Masterson, and then you just see this action page. It's like, so what happened next? And we then see that her and Wong are back there. Like, the mace went back to whence it came. So, well, that's in the wind. So that's a kind of cool thing that we kind of have to watch out for. She's like, I learned what his name was in his own kind of style and everything. Just another kind of egomaniac in a metal mask. And, like, we don't have enough of those already. Wong being like, it won't be long until Tony Stark shows up. Because this person's got a similar kind of style and motif to, like, Madame Mask. Of course, Tony's got his metal mask. And Clea likes that and everything. And Bats is like, hey, can this Harvest Man actually stop you or anything? And she's like, nope. And Wong brings up a good kind of thing of, like, it feels like an escalation that since the Sorcerer Supreme was gone, that other kind of entities are taking that upon themselves to do their own kind of thing, like Death with the Harvest Man making an opposite number, and that there's things going on in Death's realm just as they are thinking of, like, messing around in there. So they better think about what they're doing when they're trying to, like, bring Strange back. Let's see. She, of course, brings it up that this is more of their advantage, that, okay, they're busy with their own concerns, they kind of won't notice us. Wong, of course, is like, hey, you still got your whole kind of list, you gotta contact the Avengers, you gotta deal with the Warlords, you gotta do stuff with, like, the ruins of Kalamesh, and, of course, Steven's school is a big kind of thing. I'm like, yay, bring that up, because that's an important kind of thing. Then we get, like, a whole knock thing, and she's like, hey, I gotta attend to this, and we find out that it is somebody from the Bazaar, and that the Blasphemy Cartel came back in numbers and really just took it to the Bazaar. And she's like, I told them this was under my protection. And Wong's like, this is Earth, this isn't the Dark Dimension. There are no warlords here in Manhattan. And you just see the pain in Clea's face. And then she's like, fuck that noise. It does now, as we really see that they shouldn't be trifling with her, and that she's intending to put that to rights and to go to war, as we see her really fucking pissed off and pretty much in Dormammu mode right there. And I'm like, that is really kind of cool, because we see this progression. We see her in her usual kind of form, like normal, what we would consider human. Then we see her in her action kind of form, where she's kind of like flame-headed on, kind of similar to Ghost Rider, but she's kind of in a cool kind of state. But then when we see her like this, we know that something is about to go fucking down. And I like that progression that we see just visually. I mean, we get it. It's really kind of cool to see it laid out as the story's happening, and we're seeing all these different kind of beats. We see her being like, okay, I'm alright, I'm shooting the shit with Wong. And then we see her in her battle Sorcerer Supreme mode, dealing with what she needs to, and then we finally see her pissed off at something that she should rightfully be angry at. Because these were people just trying to do their shit. And then the Blasphemy Cartel's like, fuck you guys, and just starts going at him. And she's not gonna take that well. And the thing is, I do like seeing the kind of differences between her and Strange. I hope she tempers some of her stuff, but doesn't lose that fire. Because it's one thing to, like, go and stop people from doing something like this. It's another thing to go further and, like, tit for tat, because that just creates a whole kind of crazy cycle. But I did like that the story set up, we get introduced to the Harvest Man, and it's a credible kind of threat, and we get Clea acclimated to him and understanding him at least a little bit and be like, okay, that's a good kind of introduction. I'm intrigued and I want to learn more about that character. And having Thunderstrike as a Revenant was a very interesting kind of thing. I'm like, okay, I wasn't expecting that. And I liked what they did. Her trying to figure out and showcase her battle prowess and her thought kind of process when she's dealing with this kind of thing that she doesn't know exactly what's going on about, and a kind of potential ally, potential enemy in the Harvest Man, and how she's able to handle that kind of situation. And then at the end, kind of showing that this blasphemy cartel is going to be a problem that she takes seriously. And I can't wait to see that kind of play out. So I've been happy with how this series has gone so far, and I'm looking forward to where it's going to go from here. So those are my opinions on the issue. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.